What's going on, everybody? Welcome back in to the Landry Hat channel. My name is Zach, and finally, we have some Cowboys football to talk about. It's not a ton. We don't get to see them out in pads and tackling to the ground and running 11 on 11 and 2-minute drills and all of that stuff, but at least we have OTAs. And finally, day one of media availability gave us a lot of little nuggets. Brian Schottenheimer spoke with the media. Some media members were out there on the field getting to see individual drills along with 7-on-7 stuff. So just little bitty pieces of information, just tidbits of things that we can talk about right here on the channel. And I will preface this video with, it is OTAs. There is no tackling. There is no pads. There's nothing like that. But we still have to talk about it because these are topics and storylines that we're going to have to cover throughout OTAs, minicamp, training camp, the preseason, and then into the regular season. So we got to stay on top of it. And one storyline that might have gotten a little overshadowed by the George Pickens contract situation and the Tyler Guyton competition at left tackle was the talk about running back 2, or the conversation around the running back room in general. Nick Harris of the Fort Worth Star-Telegram wrote, "The backup running back position remains a competition. Phil Mafah looked good with his first team reps, grabbing a touchdown in red zone work, as did Jaden Blue. Mafah has specifically drawn a lot of praise for his work this offseason, with one source saying he is night and day different from last year. Blue has also been praised, with another source saying he's more locked in right now on the details than he was in his rookie season. Undrafted free agent signing Dominic Richardson is further down the depth chart, but he was also mentioned for his grit and toughness." We know who the running back 1 is. Javonte Williams is going to be the guy. But the question now is, who is going to be the second back in this offense? Because there's a chance, and we're going to talk about this in the video, that it's not strictly one guy or the other. You don't have to choose. Maybe they can keep both around for different roles in this offense. But I got a feeling by the end of the year, one of these guys is going to have to emerge. It's really not as simple as Jaden Blue was drafted higher. Mafah was a 7th-round pick. He didn't play all last year. Blue played in 5 games. He's going to be the automatic running back 2. Phil Mafah got first-team reps. Jaden Blue got first-team reps. Both guys showed up. Both guys have sources inside of the Cowboys building saying that they're different players. They're going about things in different ways. And I know what some of you are probably thinking, we're talking about running back 2 right now, right? Why are we talking about running back 2 when the defensive side of the ball and all that? I like talking offense. I've talked a lot about this defense, and I'll have a conversation and a podcast with Foots, likely out tomorrow. But why does this matter? Why does running back 2 matter all that much? And that's because Javonte Williams, being the clear starter that he is, the Cowboys cannot afford to run him into the ground. The Cowboys need someone who can handle real snaps and have a real role, because running back 2 is a lot more than just go in there when Javonte gets tired, right? You got to be able to protect Dak Prescott, catch the ball, handle red zone touches, win in short yardage situations, give the offense something different or better or more explosive or grittier. That way the offense can be more balanced, more physical, and better at controlling games, because we saw Javonte Williams over the course of the year start to kind of wear down, and we didn't notice it that much because we were complaining about the defense. There were other things to worry about. We weren't all that concerned with the run game because, quite frankly, every game turned into a track meet where the offense was just having to throw the ball all over the field. So we didn't really get to harp on, yes, as good as Javonte was, I was pleasantly surprised. I love what he showed us last year. He did start to wear down towards the back half of the year, and you can't afford that. You can't afford for that to happen if you're going to be a playoff team. So let's start with maybe my favorite player from last preseason, and that is Phil Mafah. Mafah is the more physical profile between him and Jaden Blue. He gives the Cowboys size, contact balance, short yardage ability, a downhill running style similar to Javonte Williams. He was basically a redshirt rookie last year because he had a shoulder injury, landed him on injured reserve. I think that was more so to protect him from the waiver wire. The Cowboys wanted to keep him around. If Mafah looks different, obviously in a good way, That's awesome. That is music to my ears because I thought he looked really good last year during the preseason. I thought there was a chance that he could make this team outright, and maybe he should have made this team outright. What is the source in the building seeing? Is he getting stronger? Is he getting leaner? Is he getting like what is this night and day difference? Maybe just his overall mentality, work ethic, understanding the playbook, understanding what they're trying to do on offense. Maybe that's what they mean by night and day. But that's a really good sign if that's the case. And again, OTAs, you don't want to overreact to who's running with each group, but first team reps are still information, still giving us something, because if Mafah is at least getting those chances early on, the staff is somewhat curious. They're curious about what he could bring to this offense, and he's getting to run with Dak Prescott, Ceedee Lamb, Ryan Flournoy, George Pickens when he gets there. I have to imagine that's at least a positive. Do we think that Dominic Richardson, the undrafted free agent running back that they signed, is he getting first team reps? Probably not. But with Phil Mafah, he was here last year. He knows the playbook. The offensive staff obviously knows him. He's coming back stronger, faster, healthier. And I'm really excited about what he could bring to this offense, because he could be that short yardage, goal line, 4-minute offense, physical change up behind Javonte Williams. Maybe he's a late game guy. If Javonte has to go out of the game, has to take a breather, you're not losing the physicality on the ground. And we're going to talk about Jaden Blue here in a minute and what he might bring to this offense, because they are completely different players. But a couple of questions that I think Mafah is going to have to answer over OTAs throughout training camp, mini camp, the preseason, and eventually into the regular season is, can he protect Dak Prescott in pass protection? Can he pick up blitzes? Can he identify? Can he keep him clean? Can he catch the ball out of the backfield? Can he be more than just a big back, more than a goal line only guy? Because they kind of have that in Hunter Lipke. They're going to need a little bit more from Phil Mafah, and I thought he showed that last year in the preseason. Had some really good runs, explosive runs. He doesn't have that breakaway speed or anything, but good contact balance. Can turn a 5-yard run into 8 yards, 10 yards, 12 yards, 15 yards. That's what I want to see from him as we continue with this. But this is a good starting point for him, because if he can prove that he's trustworthy to Brian Schottenheimer, Clayton Adams, and is in full control of his job in the offense, he could force his way to be the running back too. That's completely possible. Even if there's a more explosive guy on the sideline in Jaden Blue, Phil Mafah proved that he could be reliable. So that takes us to Jaden Blue. And I think last year his main problem was assignment based. That's why in Nick Harris's article, he says a quote from somebody inside of the building that he just seems like he's more focused this year. That was something coming out of Texas that people were really harping on. That's why he went in the 5th round, even though he is that higher upside, more explosive option. That's why the Cowboys drafted him. In the 5th round, you don't really find guys with that kind of speed and big playability. The problem was the off the field stuff, the stuff in the classroom, not picking up on things, maybe not being 100% focused in everything that he did. It feels like that's what kept him off the field, because Javonte did get worn down over the back half of the season. They still didn't choose to roll with Jaden Blue. They went with Malik Davis, a guy that they signed at the beginning of August that was probably going to be out of the NFL after the 2025 season. They didn't trust Jaden Blue enough for him to get more than 40 carries. And I think 15 or 20 of those came in the final week when it didn't matter, when the Cowboys were better off losing that game anyway, which does say something about his focus, his classroom stuff, because of the explosiveness and the upside that he brings to an offense. If you think about the typical dynamic 1-2 punch, Javonte Williams is that big bruiser back, gets the tough yards between the tackles, wears down a defense over the course of games. And then you have Jaden Blue that can hit his head on the goalpost because he gets one seam, the defense is worn down towards the back half of the game, and he's 50, 60, 70 yards. That's the kind of dynamic running back duo that you think of. But if you can't get onto the field, if you can't pass protect, if you can't do anything else but okay, we're going to hand the ball off to you here, and we're going to hand the ball off to you here. Oh, Javonte needs to come out of the game. We're just going to give you the ball. You can't do that. You have to be more multiple, like we talked about with Phil Mafah. Can you pass protect? Can you catch the ball out of the backfield? Can they rely on you to be where you need to be? Understand blitz packages, not get Dak Prescott just lit up. For Blue, can you play faster? That was kind of an issue that I saw on film, and then even watching the TV copy, live, watching just games as a fan, he was running, I don't want to say scared. He was running in a way that it didn't look like Texas Jaden Blue, like he was ever going to be able to find a seam, and he just wasn't running with the kind of confidence that we saw from him in college. I would like to see him play with a little bit more confidence, a little bit more swagger, because he does have the explosiveness. Phil Mafah has the physicality and the reliability, where Jaden Blue has the explosiveness and ability to score anytime he touches the ball. He just has to do that. I feel like I've talked about this topic quite a bit between my channel and the Landry Hat and all of that, and it feels important to talk about because of Javonte down the back half of the year not being able to keep up or sustain the type of production he did early in the year because he was getting so many carries. The Cowboys haven't done anything to address the running back 2 spot. This is it. This is it. You're going to get Phil Mafah, you're going to get Jaden Blue. Unless there's something, and then Hunter Lipke as well. Unless something changes, a running back gets cut, he's on the waiver wire, and the Cowboys pick him up and then let go of one of those guys. This is pretty much it. I don't see them making a trade or a signing off the street that makes more sense than either of these guys right now. I might be talking about it way too early because I'm going to bring up playoff football. But if you don't have a running back 2 that you can trust, and Javonte has to miss weeks, or he's so worn down by the time that you get to the divisional round, it's going to take a toll on your offense. It's going to take a toll on how creative you can be. You're going to be trying to run the offense on a crutch, essentially. So this battle could mean maybe more towards the back half of the year, and that's why I just keep hitting on it. There's also a world where they both kind of win roles in the offense, where Javonte is the starter, Mafah is maybe the short yardage down towards the goal line guy if he can stick his nose in there and push across the line, and then Blue as the juice. I always go back to Joseph Randle back in 2014, I believe, with DeMarco Murray, where DeMarco Murray's just wearing teams down, and then you sprinkle in Joseph Randle, and it's a 20-yard, 25, 30, 35-yard run, because the defense, just that change of pace does a lot to a defense. It would definitely give the Cowboys a much more diverse run game than they had last year, where it's not just one guy, and then Malik Davis kind of came on towards the back of the year. Just a functional running back rotation keeps the offense out of obvious passing situations. It could help with red zone efficiency if injuries were to pop up. This is the NFL. Just because Javonte stayed healthy last year doesn't mean he's going to stay healthy this year. So I made this video not to overreact to a couple of quotes from an article or from a source inside of the building. It is June. They're not in pads. Running backs are a little bit harder to judge in OTAs because there's no real tackling. They're not, yesterday they didn't even run 11 on 11. It was just 7 on 7, so there was no offensive line. They weren't running the ball at all. A red zone touchdown in 7 on 7, or just getting work with the first team here and there. It doesn't mean that either of those guys have won the job. The real battle and the real answers to our questions are going to be answered when they're in pads, in Oxnard, getting preseason reps, pass protection drills at Oxnard, when they're running 11 on 11. That's when we'll finally get the answers. We'll see how much Javonte is running the football with the first team, and then when Javonte goes out, who is taking his place? Who do they trust the most? Because I think that's what's going to come down to. Who can they trust? Phil Mafah, old reliable, very aware, very hard runner. Jaden Blue, if he can prove that he's gotten better in the classroom and understanding stuff, then you can't not put him on the field if Williams has to come off. So thank you guys so much for listening to the Landry Hat, for listening to me over on my YouTube channel and podcast. Foots and I will have an episode out tomorrow talking about OTAs in its entirety, everything that we've seen, reports coming out. Maybe we'll talk a little bit of defense because, man, I hope they get better on the defensive side of the ball. It seems like it's trending in that direction. Again, it's OTAs, but it's at least some football to talk about, and we're going to follow these storylines throughout the entire offseason, training camp, preseason, into the regular season. So you guys make sure you stick around, like this video, subscribe to the channel. We really appreciate you for supporting us here at the Landry Hat. I love you all, and I'll see you very soon. We got some football to talk about. All right.